Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Today we are going to do another food evaluation. So we had a subscriber ask us, what is the difference between Kirkland's lamb and rice, which is the Costco brand dog food, versus Purina Pro Plan lamb and rice? And so today we're going to answer that question. Thanks for asking it. I do not have a Costco in my area, so I've never shopped at Costco. So today we're going to do a little shopping virtually at Costco, and we're going to dive into the differences between those two brands. So if you're new to our channel, welcome. My name is Dr. Ray, and I like to show you guys fun things that I encounter in my everyday small animal general practice, and I answer your questions as well, and we do some food reviews and learn how to read labels and just educate ourselves so that we don't buy our pets crap. If you hear pitter patter of little feet, it is my trusty sidekicks, Sable and Foxy, and so they may make a little extemporaneous noise during this video. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm not familiar with Costco, so I did kind of review their website a little bit to familiarize myself. So it's a first impression, but I did sneak peek a little bit. And so the food I think they are talking about is this one right here, which is the Kirkland Signature Adult Formula Lamb and Rice and Vegetable dog food. It's a 40-pound bag, and it's going to be $43.99. And so on first glance, you have the label claims you've got lamb and rice and vegetable. They're claiming to have glucosamine, vitamin E. It is sold in a 40-pound bag. Let's go down and find, they are saying the life stage is adult, so let's just go and see if we can't find the AFCO statement and start right there and see if that's something that we like. Okay, so I could have swore when I looked at this to begin with that they did have the AFCO statement, but perhaps I was just a little confused and that was not the case. So if you're interested in this bag and you have a Costco, because I've searched through all the websites, Amazon, everything, I can't find a picture of the other sides of the bag, you're going to actually have to look on the bag to check your AFCO statement. So you know that in these videos we always like to do that, but with Kirkland's Signature, they are not listing that on the website, so I'm not going to be able to evaluate that for you. It does say it is for adult dogs, and so we're going to go by that and assume that it is not on all life stages and that it is for adult dogs, but I can't verify that on this video. What we are going to do is go ahead and look at the guaranteed analysis. I did go ahead and call, and I guess I should have probably asked about the AFCO statement as well. But I did go ahead and call and get the calcium and phosphorus, and they had very good customer service. So I think if you wanted to call, they probably would go ahead and help you with the AFCO statement, because they were really, really quick on getting me the calcium and phosphorus. So here's the calcium and phosphorus. So let's grab our little reference guide. Okay, so crude protein at 23%, and for an adult dog, that is really good. The fat at 14%. Should be between 10 and 20, and so that's really good. Fiber, 4% maximum, and we want it to be less than 5, so if it's 4% max, we should be fine on the fiber. Then we got into the phosphorus and the calcium, and they don't list that. And so we've talked about in the past, a lot of times when companies do not list the calcium and phosphorus, it's because they're out of range. And I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the case, and this is kind of a resounding thing that we're seeing. And so when I called them, they said the phosphorus was 1.2, which is quite a bit higher than what we want, and the calcium was 1.7, which is way higher than what we want. And so it could be that this is an all life stage formula, and so it's actually puppy, and that's why it has higher calcium and phosphorus. But for an adult dog, it's probably okay for a normal adult dog, but if your pet has some underlying kidney disease, this is not going to be good. And unless you do routine blood work like all the time, how are you going to know if your pet is getting into some kidney problems? And so this is a big no-no for me, having calcium and phosphorus this far out of the reference range. And it's kind of also a bummer that they don't have the AFCO statement, really prominent. If we're going to continue to evaluate this food, we can go down. It's 373 calories per cup, which I think is pretty typical. And then if we go down to the ingredients, let's close all these windows. If we go to the ingredients, the big thing is they're talking about how lamb, it's a lamb and rice, so lamb is the main ingredient and the first ingredient. And it is, it's the first ingredient. And we're gonna have a video pretty soon going into ingredients and how to evaluate ingredients. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it because they can be manipulated in a lot of ways, and they use those ingredients to kind of draw people in. And so for this particular one, they're saying lamb and rice, and the first ingredient is lamb, the second ingredient is lamb meal, and then you got your whole grain brown rice, ground white rice, rice bran. And so what they've done here is lamb is the first ingredient, and it is because this is listed by weight. And so a piece of raw lamb has a lot of moisture. It's probably 70% moisture, and so it weighs more. Therefore, it's the first ingredient. But you're not using all that water in dog food, especially in a dry dog food. That lamb is processed, it's dehydrated, and what you have left is a fraction of what it was, because this is listed by weight in the raw material. So even though lamb is the first ingredient, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the most in there. Now, lamb meal is a dehydrated, for the most part, product or a processed product, and it provides a very good protein source. So you are getting a lot of lamb in there. And so I'm not saying that this product's not lamb. I'm just trying to illustrate how things in the ingredient list can be manipulated, and you really have to spend a lot of time there and do a lot of research there. It's not like a quick and dirty like we do some of these reviews. The other thing they've done here is a little trick called grain splitting. So they split the rice into multiple little rice type things. These are all rice, but they've split them up because if they listed them all together, it might even bump rice to the first ingredient. So there's nothing wrong with these ingredients. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. I'm just trying to illustrate to you guys why the ingredient list can be manipulated, and I'm going to do a video dedicated on that, so stay tuned. The other thing that's important to realize, even though the bag says lamb and rice, there are other things in this bag besides lamb and rice. So just because that's on the name doesn't mean it's 100% lamb and rice. And if you follow the ingredient list, you can see down here that we have some chicken fat. So if your pet is allergic to chicken, you can't buy this bag and say, okay, my dog's allergic to chicken, I feed it lamb and rice. That's why these foods are not appropriate for a food trial. You have to have a specific prescription from your veterinarian if your pet has a food allergy, because here there is chicken in this diet, and they'll hide some of those ingredients along, there too. Doesn't mean it's not a quality food. Doesn't mean that it's not fine. It's just a way they manipulate the ingredients, and I'm using Kirkland's signature kind of to illustrate my point. But there's nothing wrong with those things as ingredients, and so. For $43.99, you get a 40-pound bag, so pretty good deal there. It's available there at Costco, which means it's local. A lot of people can pick it up when they're doing their regular grocery shopping. We need to know more about the AFCO statement. This might be more of a puppy food than an adult food because of the parameters of calcium and phosphorus that are out of range. And so let's do the comparison and see if we had these two to pick from, which one would we choose. So the one that they had asked about was the Purina Pro Plan lamb and rice. The only one I could find was the small bites. It doesn't usually make a difference that it's small bites. That just means the kibble size is smaller. So I think this will illustrate what we want. On Amazon, you can get this bag for $47.98. It's only a 37.5-pound bag, so this one is a little bit more pricey. It says age range young adult. I don't think young adult is an actual defined life stage, so we're gonna find the AFCO statement on here somewhere and see what their actual claim is. Okay, so I went ahead and jumped onto the Chewy website because it was a little bit more user-friendly. You can see the price is about the same. It's just they had more pictures of the bag to be able to go over these things with you. The interesting thing is when I jumped over to Chewy, the name of the food changed, and now they're saying it's called Purina Pro Plan All Life Stages. And so I don't think we need to really jump into the AFCO statement because they're saying it right there. And maybe if I had looked at the bag a little bit closer, yeah, that's my bad. It says it right there, all ages. So they list it right there. So both foods are all life stages. The Kirkland's lamb and rice and the Purina Pro Plan lamb and rice are both all life stages, which is not my favorite. So on that, but we'll get past it. Let's just get to the guaranteed analysis. All right. So let's see here what we can figure out. Where's my little reference guide here? Okay, so in the Pro Plan, you've got a protein of 27%, which is still in the reference range, fat of 17%, also still in the reference range, fiber at 3%, which is a maximum as well, so a little bit less fiber, but still less than 5%, so there's nothing wrong with that. They're listing their calcium at 1.1, which is above the reference range, but only a tiny little bit. And so again, that goes back to this being all life stages and not specific for adults. They need that extra calcium because they have to cater to pregnant, lactating, and puppies. And so they've bumped up the calcium in order to make it all life stages. The phosphorus is at 0.9. And so again, just slightly above the reference range on that. Again, to meet probably those more rigorous requirements of pregnant and lactating. And so both the Pro Plan and the Kirkland were both out of range with calcium and phosphorus, but the Pro Plan tend to be a little bit better if you're feeding to an adult dog and not a puppy or pregnant and lactating. So a little bit better on that on the Pro Plan. Let's go to the ingredients and see, because they're both supposed to be lamb and rice. So again, lamb as the first ingredient. So we know that means it's by weight, so there is lamb in there, but a lot of that lamb is actually water that's going to be absorbed or evaporated when it's put into a dry kibble. Next ingredient is rice, and then you go into some corn gluten meal. Again, you have that poultry, so if you have a pet that is allergic to poultry, this is going to have that in there. This one also has beef fat. And so in this meal, oh, and down here we've got fish meal. So with this one, we pretty much have covered all the protein sources. So it is predominantly lamb according to weight, but you've got poultry in here, you've got fish, and you've got beef. And so if you have a pet that has a food allergy, this is not going to be appropriate. You need to consult with your veterinarian and get on a very restricted diet that is probably a prescription, so that your pet doesn't have flare-ups on their skin or their GI tract. So that is the Pro Plan. And so if I had to pick between the two, the Pro Plan is a little bit more pricey, but it does meet more closely the parameters of the calcium and the phosphorus. So if you are feeding this to an adult dog or even a senior pet, it's going to be a little bit safer for them. If you're feeding to a puppy, pregnant, or lactating, it's fine. Both of them are fine. Even the Kirkland's is fine. I think that if we're trying to be perfect, we really should find a food that is specific for our pet's life stage. So neither of those meet that checkbox. But since you asked the question and I have to pick between one or the other, I would have to say the Pro Plan on this one probably wins because it is closer. I'm not even factoring in the ingredients because I would never recommend you feed a pet that has food allergies either of these diets because they're not restrictive enough. So I'm not even factoring that in. But to answer your question, I would say 41 versus 47. I would probably, if I only had these two foods in the whole entire dog food world to pick from, I would probably pick the Pro Plan. And that's the way it is. All right, guys, I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe before you go, and we hope to see you again. Bye.